Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host David, and welcome back to another episode of Live, Laugh, and Love. This is the third episode of season two, and we just want to say to the bottom of our heart, thank you so much for all the support. It really means a lot. Today's episode is going to be a really fun one because today's guest is someone who sometimes does bring out some out of pocket stuff, but at the same time, it's quite humorous. This person doesn't have, she isn't afraid to confront anything and is always going head on into a problem. And yeah, well, Siyun, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Hi. Hello.
It is so good to have you. Well, first of all, Siyun, I just want to make sure our audience knows. Could you please give us a brief introduction of who you are, what year you're in, and what you're doing in school right now, please?
So my name's Siyun Lee. I'm right now in year 11, and in school I take the IB curriculum, and I do maths, chemistry, physics, and I like volleyball. Yeah.
That's great. Well, Siyun, first of all, thank you so much for coming onto the show. You told me that this was your first time, and
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be a fine first experience.
Hell yeah, I'm really excited. I've been really looking forward.
That's great. See you.
Yeah.
See you. I'm gonna go straight into these questions. Okay. First of all, I wanted to ask, where do you get this active energy from? Because I know you do lots of martial arts, and I wanted to know where has that influenced you, or what has inspired you to take on martial arts?
Well, I mean, I don't do martial arts now, but I definitely had a phase where I was completely obsessed with martial arts. And I don't know, I think I just did that to look cool, you know? I mean, like, it's pretty cool, you know? Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Like, you know how you sometimes daydream about like knocking down bullies? Like I
Yep.
low-key daydreamed about that, but I don't have any bullies, so all of the bullies that I daydream are like faceless, anonymous people. Okay, this is embarrassing. Anyways, um,
Okay. Go on. That's okay. It's
like
okay.
in my daydreams, you know, I'll use like martial arts to fight down zombies or something. Like, you know, it made me feel pretty nice and warm and fuzzy inside, and I like that feeling. But then it didn't really last long because like
Mhm.
I don't do martial arts now, and
You do rock
my
climbing now, right?
huh?
You do rock climbing now, right?
No, rock climbing was my other phase before martial
That's another
arts. I'm
thing.
in my volleyball phase now.
You gotta tell us the whole phases. So wait, hold up. What were you about to say before I cut you out, sir?
Oh, you asked me about the whole active energy, and I
Yeah.
honestly don't know. I think my main active energy about my hobbies come from the fact that I get really passionate easily,
Hmm.
but then I lose that passion really easy. So I have this like burst of energy towards a hobby, and then it quickly dwindles away, and I move on to another one, and boom, and then I move on to another one, boom.
Fair enough. And I'm assuming that's like that also happened to like the rock climbing and the volleyball part too,
I mean, volleyball, I think I've stuck with volleyball the longest
for the
as of right now.
longest.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. What happens to the rock climbing? I thought you were like an avid rock climber. Was that also just like a burst of energy and you just lost interest all of a sudden?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's mainly because I didn't really have anyone else to rock climb with.
Hmm.
Like in
Fair
volleyball, I
enough.
do volleyball with my sisters. There's a lot of kids my age at the training camps, but like if you
Hmm.
go to climbing places, it's all like 30-year-old, 40-year-old people.
Yeah,
And you know, it's hard to make friends
absolutely.
with 30-year-old people.
Absolutely understandable. I remember you were like looking at like just walking around and you saw my like a wallpaper. And for those who don't know, my wallpaper is Hinata-san from Haikyuu, and
Hinata-san.
Hinata-san from
Yeah,
Haikyuu,
yeah.
and I remember I was looking at a Justin Han Instagram story, and it was the one where he tried to be a Hinata-san for like a day or something. And I just
Yeah.
want to know like I'm sure you really like Haikyuu, but who's your favorite character?
To be honest, I didn't watch. I love Haikyuu, but I didn't watch the whole thing. I think I watched all of season 2 and 3, but I only watched snippets of season 1 because I watched it with my sister, and then when my sister started watching season 2, I just started watching it along with her. So I don't have
Mm-hmm.
much info on the characters, but from what I've seen so far, I really like Nishinoya.
Nishinoya.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
he's so funny, and he's like if he was real, he'd be such an amazing guy to be around with, you know.
Mm-hmm. Just like positive vibes and like I
Yeah,
don't know.
and he's yeah,
He's chill
honestly
too, right?
all pardon?
Isn't Nishinoya the chill guy?
Uh pardon? He's a libero.
Isn't
I
it?
remember she's a really short one.
Oh, it's the other guy. Sorry, I confused the other guy. He's the guy with like the spiky hair, right?
Yeah, the one with
Yeah,
spike
like just like
like
a
over
tiger.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. His energy is cool. Yeah, I did tell you that like my favorite character from Haikyuu was Hinata-san, just because he had this
Mhm.
like child attitude in him, and it was fun, and it was really funny. I wanted to talk
Yeah.
about more of like the things I've always wanted to know from you, and it's the ability to do something that's cringe or something that's just funny. Where do you get this confidence from?
Hey, that sounds really,
No,
really
no, no,
backhanded, you
no,
know.
no, genuinely. I really want to know how do you like how are you okay with embarrassing yourself in public just for the entertainment? Because I know a lot of people for sure that when someone embarrasses them, they don't take it nicely and they probably take it too seriously. And I want to know how you somehow change that into like a funny and a humorous twist onto that.
Um, I actually don't know. I think I'm just born kind of unserious and kind of whimsical, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, when I was younger, I used to be a lot more reserved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the main way I got more confident and immune to feeling cringed out by myself is that my whimsicality and my immunity to feeling cringe comes from like exposure therapy. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you do it long enough like me, you kind of get immune to it at one point. So I think
And you
you
just get
just
that
got to start
confidence.
like yeah, you just got to start doing things that you think is cringe or embarrassing. And when that starts, it's going to gain momentum and you're going to end up being more cringe but also more confident. So
For
just go
sure.
for it. If you want
Just
to
go
say
for it.
something,
Mhm.
if you want to say something, but then or you want to do something or say something, but you're hesitant, like, oh, how are other people gonna look at me because of this? Are people gonna find that I'm embarrassing and I'm such a loser? Just try to ignore that and just go for it. Because usually it's not that deep. People are gonna laugh about it, and if it's a a
Mhm.
tough crowd, like sometimes how I experience, even if it's a tough crowd, they're gonna forget about it in a day. So I think I
Yeah.
think you just gotta start being cringe,
Start
and then
being
it picks
cringe
up
and
like that.
it
Yeah.
picks up like that. Good to know. Siyun, you and I, we have overlapping subjects, and I want to know, like in my previous in season one with Kangmin, I talked about why I chose my subjects, and I want to know why did you choose math, physics, and chem? I really want to know a different perspective from that.
Yeah, so for me, the choice of choosing my HL subjects came really naturally because I think I'm a very opinionated person. So I
Mm-hmm.
either hate it or I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry. I mean,
Oh
I
wait, you
hate
meant
it. Yeah,
you like it? Yeah,
I
yeah.
hate it.
Opposite.
Yeah, yeah, or I love it. And I knew for a fact that I loved chemistry and I loved physics
Mm-hmm.
because um ever since in primary I always wanted to like learn ahead in physics, so I bought textbooks and stuff like that. And for
Mm-hmm.
chemistry, I in year 10 I found chemistry quite boring, but after the organic chemistry part where we learn about all the different reactions you can use to synthesize the different like alcohols, um the ethanoic acid and stuff like that, I got really interested in that kind of process engineering, the way you make chemicals
Mm-hmm.
that you use in everyday life. So I got really hooked into chemistry, and I started on a and I got into chemistry phase. It's kind of ending now, but I'm sure I'll pick up again. Yeah,
It will
so
pick
I
up.
always knew I was into physics a lot because in physics you can quantify everything and you can always question something like why does this happen, and you'll always find an answer. You'll always find a law, a rule, something that can be 100% used to be justified justify the reality that you're seeing. And I found that really refreshing and neat about physics, the way you can explain
Mm-hmm.
everything without saying, actually there's this like unknown little variable that you don't need to know. Like, like for some other subjects you have that, but in physics it's super neat, super clean. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
I picked math AA HL because I mean, I love maths now, but before I didn't really like math that much. Yeah, I just thought math AAHL would go really, I mean, well with physics and chemistry, so I picked math, but now I love maths the most. Although I really love biology, like I think biology is one of the coolest things there is in the world. I would love to be more knowledgeable about it, but I don't want to learn biology because there's so much memorization.
It is a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and I just I love biology, but I don't wanna learn it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like you have the passion for it, but it's too much for like your mental capacity to like digest all of that
Yeah,
information.
biology is so cool, man, but, like, I don't think all that memorization is for me. I'd rather,
Mm.
study something like physics where if you know one thing, bunch of other
Everything
things
else.
from deriving an
Mm.
equation, but for biology, you can't really do that. That's why I respect my biology friends so much because how do you put yourself to that kind of torture and still enjoy it?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of content you go through in biology is a lot
Yeah,
compared
it's
to like the physics and the
crazy.
chemistry. Yeah. Damn. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to talk about more about you briefly mentioned about your friends who took biology. I just wanted to know, how do you maintain this dynamic? Because from my observations in school, I've noticed that you've been more of like the conversation leader, i.e. you're starting conversations, you're initiating them, you're enthusiastic with them. I just want to know, like, is it not always tired initiating a conversation when, let's say, some people don't want to initiate a conversation, or are you okay with it and just move on?
Um, actually, I don't think I'm like that extroverted. As in, like, sure,
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love interacting with people, and like when I interact with people, I always gain energy rather than losing them, unless like I'm super not close to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I usually just hang out within my circle. So, and
Mm-hmm.
if it's new friends, it's either it's like mutuals. For example, I'm friends with A and A's friends with B, so I naturally become close with
This
B.
would be,
Uh,
yep.
Yeah, I don't reach out to a random person D who I don't have any mutuals with at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think how some people view me is as this like extrovert girl who bounces from one person to another, super conversational, like not scared to talk to anyone. But no, if I don't know them well or if they're not my mutuals, like I am
Mm-hmm.
terrified, man. I don't think I'm that much of an extrovert.
That's really interesting because, like, like the whole time I'm looking around at the dynamics in school, you would assume that you would be extroverted, but it's really interesting to hear that you don't think you're extroverted. Do you think you're do you think you have a mix of like an introvert and an extrovert in you? Or do you think it's just that you're comfortable with the people around you, but you're an introvert? That's why it seems like you're an extrovert.
No, I still do consider myself an extrovert, but I don't consider myself extroverted to the extent where if I go to a social gathering, I'll immediately hit up people I don't know. I'm totally not like that. I will stick to
Okay.
my friend groups, stick to my mutuals, like go back to the place where I belong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But I do think I don't think I'm an introvert though.
Hmm.
But
Fair
then
enough.
I but then, for example, in my volleyball training sessions, I think I tend to behave kind of like an introvert where I try to focus more on the training rather than socializing with people. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was pretty cool. Like I was quite surprised when in the volleyball training I was kind of struggling to make friends.
Siyun, I've always wanted to talk to you this before, and it seems like your passion project is also something that I want to understand more. And it was something about the dark forest theory.
Yeah,
Dark forest,
yeah,
is that correct?
yeah.
First of all, those who don't know, could you tell us what dark forest theory is, and could you tell me why you selected it as a passion project? Because it is a really uh,
Mhm.
interesting project. But I just want to know, like, there's so many other things out there. Why this specifically?
So the dark forest theory is a fictional slash theoretical theory that is mentioned in this fictional science fiction book series. It's in the book The Dark Forest. And basically this theory is derived by one of the main characters. I forgot his name. I think it was Lotzi. And basically he describes um why revealing your location in this cosmos would result in instant death for the civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to explain this later, but the main reason why I wanted to present this theory as my passion project was because that book pretty much started a new phase in me. It was a science fiction slash cosmic
Yeah.
horror phase. It's still continuing now, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the book series basically explores the nature of the universe, the nature of humanity, and it brings forth ideas of alien civilizations and its nature and essence being far beyond our comprehension. And I just
Mm-hmm.
got really, really hooked onto that genre. So I started like this phase where I read a bunch of other cosmic horror slash science fiction stories, and so I really wanted to kind of pay tribute to that book. And also, when I first read about that theory made by the main character of the Dark Forest book, being introduced to me, I read it and I was like, "Whoa! Like
Mm-hmm.
that is really cool." And I just wanted to share it with my friends because it was really cool, and it was almost like moment for
Like
me.
it changed how you looked at the world. In other words, I'm assuming.
Not not to that extent,
Mm,
but I was just kind of mind blown by how creative authors can be.
fair enough. I want to talk about this. This is one of the most important questions here. Do you think that there's extraterrestrial life beyond Earth?
I actually do think there's extraterrestrial life because
Mm,
um well, first of all, I'm an atheist, so I don't think a god like handcrafted earth and blew life into it. I don't believe that. Um and I think and although no alien civilization that has made contact with us, or at least we haven't noticed anyone trying to make contact with us, the reason
mm-hmm,
why I think aliens exist is that the universe is really, really, really big, and there's like billion trillions of stars and even more planets. And I just don't think we're the special one. I don't think we're the unique case where life exists. And I don't remember which book it was, but um I remember I was reading this book and it said it only took a fraction of the time it took for like single-celled organisms to come into Earth was a fraction of the time that it took for multicellular organisms to appear. And I remember the time period that it took for the unicellular organisms to appear on Earth was actually quite short. And
mm-hmm,
in the book, the author theorized that so maybe this shows that life is actually not that rare, that life is quite supposed to exist, even in other planets far, far away from Earth. And but then the author did say, although unicellular organisms may be common throughout the cosmos, multicellular organisms may not be, that our
mm-hmm,
Earth may be a special case. And honestly, I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough on the subject of aliens and stuff like that to speak on this, but from what I've read and from what I've researched so far, I think that yes, definitely, somewhere in this vast universe, there will be at least one unicellular organ or some simple organism from another planet billions of years away from Earth. I think that's a very big possibility. And I think the reason that aliens haven't made contact with us is there's like a bunch of hypotheses that I forgot to research about, but there's a lot of hypotheses on why aliens haven't made contact with us, and I think it's gonna be one of that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, valid response for sure. Absolutely. So I'm assuming then you would like. Do you believe in this like UFO thing?
like UFO footages on Earth?
Yeah, like those stuff.
No, I think they're all fake and really cheap.
You
They all look so crappy.
cheap. Why? Why do you think so?
First of all, I think it's the way they portray aliens and UFO, it's so painfully limited, you know? It's so
Hmm.
obviously crafted from a human's imagination. But then I think these people who try to um, portray UFO landings or aliens, they're not thinking creatively enough. They take some, if you look at UFO images that are captured, then it's very similar to current vehicles, but it's just distorted a little bit in a way so it looks like ooh to other people. And if you look at alien footages, they just look like humans with different skin or extra limbs or some amalgamation of an animal and a human combined just to make people think like ooh. But I think considering the scale of the universe, um, aliens and UFOs, they would be unimaginably different from how our imagination portrays these. So,
Hmm.
and all the UFOs and aliens I've seen, they're painfully unimaginative. They seem so grounded on the reality of Earth. So that's why I think a lot of alien or UFO footages are fake.
What about the witnesses that have like personally experienced a UFO sighting? Then they're perfectly fine. They've said the exact or similar testimonies of UFO findings. What do you say to that?
I'd say they're lying out of their butts or they're very confused.
Hmm.
Cause cause if an alien didn't want to be spotted and it had the high technology to come all the way to Earth, they would not have been spotted by us very primitive human beings. And I don't really see why they would try to even communicate with us. And
Hmm.
again, the way they describe aliens is just it's just so it has so many human elements. Like aliens, they're from a different planet, different solar system, billions of light years away. Why how could they possibly be so similar to how we conjure up aliens in our mind? Like it fits too well. It's too
Hmm.
Their depictions seem too human made to be supernatural or otherworldly or alien.
I think that's true because if you think about it, like everything that Hollywood has portrayed as an alien is what we think an alien is, and you
Yeah, I
can
think
question what's the basis of what an alien looks like because we never
yeah,
seen an
that's
alien.
true.
Like the idea of you mentioning how it's being limited, that's I think that's true. Like how do we know that an alien looks like this? We've never even been in contact with one.
Yeah.
And also another thing is I wanted to talk about it, which is also really interesting, is this idea of like aliens being like here to like I don't know, take over Earth or something. That's also really interesting because you would want it also raises a question: where did this idea, this notion of aliens will come to Earth and take over Earth started from? Because who knows? Aliens could be friendly. They could be diplomatic. I don't know.
I think it mainly comes from colonialism
You think so? Hmm.
and wars. Well,
Hmm.
I'd say humans in general, from like looking at history books and all that, we're pretty greedy. Like
Yeah.
we invade the other country's land, we steal from them just
Resources
for
taken over.
resources. And
Hmm.
I think because again, we don't have any exposure to alien entities so far. So our imagined depiction of aliens are very, very human, like what you said, Hollywood.
Hmm.
So the way we see aliens have a very human element to it, and in this case, about the fear of aliens invading us, it's this colonial and selfish instinct within aliens and within humans that we project onto our imaginations of aliens.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's valid. Are you familiar with the Kardashev scale? I think that's how you say it.
Oh, I think it was on my presentation.
Type
Is
one,
is
type two civilizations.
Oh yeah, it's about how developed the
How
civilization
develops
is.
exactly? Do
And
you
are we
think
at like
that
level one?
we're like point 0.7 from my understanding? Point 0.7 of a type one civilized. So
Damn,
we're
we're
not
such
even a type one
losers.
civilized.
We gotta up our game. Damn.
I wanted to ask, Do you think there'll be a day where Earth will eventually become a type 1, type 2, eventually 3, 4 civilization? And if so, how far are we away from it?
I actually have no idea. First of all, I'm not really that well researched, but I'll just speak from my perspective, which is highly limited in knowledge. But I think we do have to if human beings become civil and let's say we don't kill each other, annihilate
Mhm,
each other with nuclear bombs, and we focus a bit more on the environment so the earth doesn't die,
mhm.
then I think we can definitely reach what's it, Kardashev level? What is it
Type
called?
1, so type 1. It's the
Yeah, I
Kardashev
think we can.
scale. Yeah, and
Mhm.
then there's type 1, I think.
Then I think we can reach a type 1 because technology has been accelerating. The rate of growth of technology has been accelerating really fast, and it's
Mhm,
becoming harder and harder to predict the future. But all I know is that technology is the development of technology is getting more and more and more rapid. So I think although we might not reach it in our lifetimes, but I think it will be definitely possible for us to reach it if we don't kill each
mhm.
other.
If we don't kill each other, for
Yeah.
sure. And yeah, it would be really interesting to see what actually could happen because like you've seen like sci-fi movies where like you have like these underground cities, but then at the same time, right above it is like a really developed city. So it's like a drastic change of like the poor and the rich, and you have
Oh
like
yeah.
crazy looking infrastructures, high tech, sci-fi stuff. And it also raises the question if we would like Earth would eventually be like this because like Saudi Arabia, right? They're building like this like vertical city. I think it's called. I don't know exactly,
Oh,
but
it's
they're
like a
trying to.
mirror in the
Yeah,
middle of the desert, right?
exactly. Yeah. And that's really interesting to see how, like you mentioned, the technological developments Earth has made. I mean, it also really raises an important question. Do you think there'll be a day where we would have hovering cars? We would probably be wearing VR glasses, That'll be really
Mm,
interesting.
yeah. I love technology and I love science, man. It's so
Mm-hmm.
cool. And I love how unpredictable it is too.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, like, did you know, like 3 years ago, if I was to ask you that if AI was relevant, would you actually thought that AI would become this relevant?
No, I don't think I would have had any
Never.
idea. Like
Yeah.
3 years ago, I knew AI was, but I only thought they were using, YouTube recommendation algorithms or
Mm-hmm.
Facebook ads. I never
Mm-hmm.
thought, and I thought even if AI were to develop, they would focus on taking over humans' monotonous, repetitive tasks that are dangerous. Because
Uh-huh.
that's what technology was initially for, allowing humans to live a less monotone and physically laborious life. But I never expected AI to be used for art and for writing. Like
Yeah, that's
it's really cool yet also really scary.
for sure. Like I remember like what we thought AI would take over first was the last thing they would do. And what we
Yeah,
thought
yes.
that the last thing they would take over was the first thing they did, which was like you said, the arts, the music.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see how like our perception just like it's like a 180 degrees flipped around and we cannot predict the future.
Yeah. Because I feel like the art and the way we write things is what's inherently human about us. Like our the way we communicate, our emotions just are spread across that paper, that those words, that those pieces of art. But then the fact that our most human part of ourselves can be imitated by a machine
It's
is
scary.
pretty scary. Yeah.
Yes. For sure, for sure. Soon, before we get into this rap thing we have prepared going on, I got one more question to ask. And I
Yeah.
want to know about uh if there's anything hard, could you share? Could you share with us a moment in your life where you've undergone hardship, and if you could share how you've overcome that in hardship, please.
Usually when I experience hardships, I tend to give up, but an instant where I overcame a hardship. Wait, give me like a second real
Take your
quick.
time. Take your time.
Uh, I think the most recent one was in volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was from last year, I was in the volleyball teams, but I didn't train outside of school, so I was pretty damn bad. And I've my sister very recently, like from like 3 months ago, she started going to this volleyball training, and I was like, "Oh, can I come too?" So we started doing volleyball trainings together, and we were not the worst in class, but like I consider myself a pretty athletic person. Like I find it relatively easier to pick up sports, and I overall think consider myself a pretty strong and athletic and quick person. But then for some reason in volleyball, I remember I was doing quite worse than my sister, and it was like a massive break in my ego because I consider
Mm-hmm.
myself to be more athletically inclined than my sister. And the fact that she was beating me was kind of saddening, and it kind of really humbled me. But
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't the main part of my difficulty. It was like a sprinkle on top. The main part was that I got so nervous in games, although it wasn't scored. I mean, there was scores, but it wasn't that deep. It was like those practice games where you just had to
Mm-hmm.
apply the things you did in drills. I'll do pretty good in drills, but then in games, I would always screw up. I'll get too nervous. Like I wouldn't have enough confidence to take the ball, and that continued for like a few weeks. And then during those few weeks, I was really, really I was started questioning myself, like, am I actually athletic and am I actually talented in sports as I previously thought to be? And I genuinely thought about like, let's just quit and let's just go into climbing again where there's no 16-year-old for me to compare to, so I feel happy. But then I just decided to push on
Mm-hmm.
and very quickly I started to get the grip of how the game works, and then now I can play games pretty confidently.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. There's always the saying that the second child, the second child is the better athlete.
No, no, that's false. That's false. That's false.
That's a
Do you
fact
agree
for
with that,
me.
David? You have a
That's
brother.
a fact. I have a brother. I think my brother is a better athlete than me.
Are
Much
you
more
serious?
powerful, stronger, has this killer mentality. My brother is more. I think he's a better. Like, yes, I have the experience. Yes, I know the little like techniques and stuff to like mess around with like the mind games. But my brother, for sure, I think he's a better athlete.
No, I bet you're better, David. Hold your head up, David.
Mark my territory. For sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing the personal story. It really, gives an insight of what's in your mind, and it shares with yours that we're all humans at the end of the day. We have different experiences that, some may be similar than we thought that they might have been. Let's now get to the fun part, the Christmas wrap. You know what? I'm gonna share my screen right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
hold up. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, do you see this?
Yes.
I Whenever you're ready, I'll click on play and you could try your best. Whatever we have is whatever you had. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Remember the first thing you told me? Make sure if you're about to do something cringe or like you're worried about something of how people are going to judge you, and you told me how you just should dive into it and without thinking the consequences.
Hell yeah. Okay.
This is
I'm
the
gonna
time
do
to
that,
do it,
David.
Siyun. Are
I'm
you
gonna I'm
ready?
gonna show I'm gonna
No,
demonstrate my mentality here right now.
demonstrate it for sure. You ready?
Okay.
Let's go. Wait, can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear that.
Okay, okay, okay.
I'm dashing through the snow. Got gifts in my sleigh. Spitting these bars like it's Christmas Day. Got lights on the tree, cookies on the sleigh. Santa in the booth dropping beats. Don't be late. Bam! That's it.
Oh, no, 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 hold on. That's actually quite good. Oh my god. That's actually quite good. Oh my
Thank you,
god.
thank you.
That was really good. Sion, just send me the voice memo of that and then I'll plug it in and do my math. Don't worry,
Oh,
don't worry,
I
not
didn't
now.
record myself.
No, no, you don't have to record right now. You could do it like after the podcast ends and just send me it
Okay,
via
okay,
email.
okay.
Don't worry. But that was really good. That was
Thank
really
you.
nice. Don't worry, that you killed it. See you. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for answering all the questions. That's all the questions I have. And before I end, I usually give some time to my my audiences and you to ask me a questions that you've always wanted to know the answers to, but for whatever reason you couldn't ask me. So
Mhm.
take all the time you want and fire with all the questions. I'm okay with any.
All right. The first question I got for you is, um, I always wanted to start up a YouTube channel, and when I was younger, I tried to start up a YouTube channel too. And then I tried to make a 5-minute video, and like I tried to edit a 5-minute video, and that took me 5 hours, 5+ hours actually. And I know that your videos are like 40 minutes to an hour long. So I always thought to myself, how insane does this guy have to be to actually want to continuously film and edit this type of content? So I want to ask you, how does your video editing process usually go, and how do you like keep yourself motivated to keep doing this?
For sure. First of all, thank you. That's a question I've never been asked before, and it's a really great question. Regarding to how I edit, I just think that I just have like this creativity split in my mind, and I think I consider myself as a creative person.
Yeah.
Luckily, like a podcast recording like this, for example, doesn't take so much editing because it's like it's just straight out whatever we've got is whatever we got. But like my old YouTube videos, like my tech videos, for example, those require a lot of editing because we would love like NG takes and like just like funny moments.
Hmm.
But I think it's just about like just trying to be as efficient as you can was the most important thing. So what I would do is I would two times my video, and then if I know specific areas of the timestamp where I've messed up, mark that, remove that, etc. I would
Oh,
split my editing to like a three-phase thing. So number one, cut anything that's unnecessary. Number two, add whatever I need. Number three, smack the intro and outro and the background music, and you're done. That's like my whole process of how I do it. Like a podcast for this one doesn't really take a lot of effort. It's just me
oh.
dragging and dropping, adding the intro, outro, cutting anything that's unnecessary, and just submitting it. Um,
Then, oh
yeah,
yes, sorry,
yeah.
continue.
No, no, yeah. So it's hard for sure, and I remember my first episode. I think my brother edited it, but we
Yeah.
took nearly a whole week just to get
Oh,
that edited
damn.
to our liking. That's the
Hmm.
thing. Like when you're like for example, for me, when I'm doing something, it's to my standards. I don't care what people think. As long as I'm happy with it or satisfied with it, I'm posting that. The
Yeah.
funny thing is, it took me a week to like make sure the footage we have was satisfying to my liking. And I think I've learned over like as I'm taking more videos that the more simple it is and the more just entertaining and shorter it is, the better the video is. So yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that after all this video editing you've done for your channel over the years, your video
Mhm.
editing skills has improved? That's why initially the first video it took a week to edit, but now this one, like these kind of videos that you
Like
make now, it
I
doesn't
think
take as
three
much time.
hours. Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
But that's because like the footage I'm using is different. If I was using
that's
like a
true.
larger a quality footage, yeah, it's gonna take longer to process it, of course.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing something like this where we're having like a recording thing going on, it doesn't really take me a lot of time compared to what I used to. So
Mm,
yeah, absolutely.
that's pretty cool. Another question I've related to your podcast is, how did you initially what motivated you initially to start up this podcast?
Mhm.
Did you get inspiration from other content creators? Because, like, I think podcast is a major trend right now. Or have you always
Mhm.
wanted to do this or something like that?
Yeah, for sure. I've gotten this question a lot, but I think the most important thing that I want to say to that question is I started this podcast because there was a period in my time where I was rock bottom. I had no one to talk to and I needed help.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I wanted to help other people that I know for sure, like a fact, that they're probably going to experience what I'm experiencing. And I wanted to create this environment where it's like have a chat with a 16-year-old face to face, honestly, without parents, without teachers, without any of this like filter, honest on like emotion filters going on, just like a heart to heart talk. The goal was to make sure that you the guests that come onto the podcast share something personal that changed how they perceive life or what how they've changed as a person overall. and that has shifted into this idea of making it like a podcast, hence the name Live Laugh and Love, where we're people, we like to laugh, so we talk about things we like, but love things we also like to do. And I think those three components really make up what what is special what is special of this podcast.
Mhm.
Regarding the question of who inspired me, like I've always tell this, and it's Joe Rogan. I listened to a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts previously, and when I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, I was like, hey, I mean, I like talking. I really enjoy talking. I can talk hours and hours, but unfortunately, we can't because of time constraints. So, what if I combine this idea of helping others to doing what I like, which is, I guess, in other words, emotional consultation, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Emotional consultation. I consider myself as an empathetic person, so I think it's like this. Yeah, I created this thing where you talk a lot, like a podcast, but at the same time you share something that's personal enough where you feel empowered or you feel comfortable enough, or if you see life at a different perspective. And yeah, a couple of Joe Rogan podcasts pretty much inspired me to do it. And I know for sure, like you mentioned, like it's a hot trend right now. Like I know, like the Logan Paul has a podcast.
Mhm.
I'm sure, like,
Talk
well,
to it.
yeah, Talk Tua. Yeah, Talk Tua as a podcast. So yeah, for sure, it's a very interesting experience because I never podcast before, and it's my second time being a host, and it's really interesting to hear all the different experiences and how we're and eventually realize that we're actually quite similar than we thought we weren't.
Mhm.
Siyun, before I end, do you have anything you want to say to the viewers that are still here listening to this political talk that we had for an hour?
Um, and I hope you guys enjoyed our talk.
Absolutely. Well, I was this was Siyun, and I'm your host David. And this was the third episode of Live, Laugh, and Love. Wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, make sure to drop us a review. It really makes us our day. And stay tuned for our next episode that's going to come out next week. And we'll see you next week. Thank you guys.
See
Bye.
you.